So we're back with the Q50. Today we're going to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time, because now we have a Q50 that we can do stuff like this on. So today we are going to strap the car on the dyno. We're going to run the car as is 3 times back to back with the stock heat exchanger, so we can show how bad the heat soak is. And then we're going to pull the car off, take the stock heat exchanger out, and install this brand new Boosted 6 upgraded heat exchanger. Huge shout out to Boosted 6. They sent this over as part of our build. They did sponsor this Q50 build series, so we are going to be using a lot of their parts. This is a very, very important part to have on your VR30, and today we're going to show you why. So right now it's about 83. I don't know if you can see this. It's about 83 degrees outside. That's the ambient temperature we're working with. And on the dyno, for every single pull, we're going to show the dyno room temperature, humidity, and the correction factors. And if anything does change between runs, you can see the exact temperature, humidity, and the correction factors used. That way, we can actually compare the before and after and between every run. Alright, and to show you guys what the temperatures look like during the pull, I'm going to be using the Ecutech dashboard in their app. So I have this set up right here to show, let's see, charger coolant temp, and then charger temperature, the engine speed, and I have oil temp and oil pressure down here. That's more for me so I can see if the car's warmed up before I do a pull, but the top 2 numbers is what you really want to look at. And then obviously the dyno numbers. I'm going to be screen recording this and then kind of overlaying it next to the video of the car doing the pull, so you can see live what's going on with these temperatures right here. So I'm not logging intake air temperature. That's the intake temp at the MAV sensor. That temperature really doesn't matter. This car still has the stock air box. What actually matters is the air temperature, the charge air temperature at the intercoolers. This is post intercooler temp right before it enters the engine. The charger coolant, that's the coolant going through the intercooler, cooling down this air right here. So that's why I have these pulled up. I'm gonna, well, the oil temp is kind of warm already because I drove the car around a little bit. I'm going to, run the car a little bit, drive it a little bit, get the charger coolant temp as low as I can before we start the run. With an upgraded heat exchanger, I'm also expecting the starting temperature to be a lot cooler. I can't tell you exactly how much cooler, but that's what we're here to find out. Yeah, we gotta clean up all this stuff soon. It looks pretty ghetto, but we do have a new diffuser sitting somewhere in the shop for this. We're gonna clean this up and then put that on there to clean everything up. So hopefully, eventually, this car doesn't look as clapped as it is. So yeah, again, looking over the car, stock heat exchanger in there. You can probably see it. I don't know if you can tell, but you have the stock intakes, stock air box, stock intercoolers, everything is stock under here. The only mods on the car right now are the Boosted 6 lower downpipes, our valve catback exhaust, the 3-inch true dual catback, and that's it. And the tune we will be running this car on is just our off-the-shelf OTS tune that we flashed since the last few episodes. So that way we have the exact same tune with no changes, so we can see the differences in just the parts and not the tune. We're not going to be changing anything in the tune. Okay, also for these runs, we are going to be doing them pretty much back to back. I'm going to do a 30-second cooldown between each run, and of course after we put the upgraded heat changer in there, we can do the exact same thing. So just letting you know how we're doing this. So this is not going to be like 100% scientific. We're not in a super controlled environment. Everything's not going to be consistently the exact same. I'm going to do my best to try to make it consistent, but I think the numbers at the end will pretty much tell you the whole story. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, so this is actually better than I thought. The very first pull, we made 410 horsepower, 461 torque, and then the pull right after that went straight, lost 13 horsepower, went down to 397 and 448 torque. And then the last pull, when charger coolant was about 130, 140, it went to 392 and 438. So this kind of shows you how pull after pull you're gonna start to get less and less power. We didn't really get to a dangerous charger temperature level. Like, we're not sitting at, like, you know, 160 degrees charger temperature, but this is still pretty bad. If this was the real world and you're doing pulls after pulls in multiple gears, you're gonna feel the effect of this a lot more, especially from the very first pull to the second. That's a huge jump. So yeah. So yeah, now I'm gonna shut the car off, let it cool a little bit before I touch it, because I know it's really hot. We're gonna put this in there, and I've actually never done one of these before. I don't work on the cars. Actually, I lied. I've done like one or two before a long time ago. Yeah, I'm not the tech here. I don't work on these cars. I know how they work, and I kind of know the basic idea. I can look up instructions and stuff like that. I'm trying to be more relatable to you guys. Like, I'm one of the customers that just got into one of these cars, don't know anything about them, and you're gonna suffer with me, as anyone would have suffered for the very first time doing something like this. And just to show you guys, it was 87 degrees in here for all three of those pulls. So if that does change, if it gets warmer throughout the day, you might see the correction factor change. So yeah. Got the car back in here. I think we're able to just do this with the car on a 4-post. I don't think we need to take the wheel off to get to the fender. This pull right here, we've always been able to do it with just the car like this. I've watched them do it. I've never done it before, so we'll see. The very first step obviously will be just taking the bumper off. There's a bunch of clips up here. You can see there's if you know VR30, you know the bumper has one of these little clippy things. That's a 10 mil. There's a bolt that's in the fender liner, inside the fender liner, pointing up. Unfortunately, this car is kind of clapped, so well, it's good for us because it's less stuff to take apart, but we don't have any of the underbelly pans, so that saves like half the work. I'm gonna start just taking all this stuff off. I watched the video right before this, so I think I know what I'm doing. Oh, by the way, just like our last video, disclaimer that the work you see here does not represent our actual shop work. I don't work on these cars, so if you ever bring your car here, I'm not the one touching it. This is just our shop Q50 that we can mess with. The whole point of this is that I'm basically doing this for the very first time, just like some of you guys watching, so we can suffer together. But the last episode with the lower downpipes, that's probably one of the easiest parts you can install in these cars. You just gotta get under the car. It's a bolt that faces that way, that holds the bumper. So once you get that out, if I can, you're gonna see one of these little brackets. That's what holds in the bumper. So I'm gonna leave that together. I'm gonna try to not yap so much in this video.
Yeah, you don't have to turn it all the way. You just have to turn it enough to get the ratchet in there.
There's three more bolts that hold this little flappy piece right here. Remove that. So the right way to do this is take the wheel off and get the whole entire fender liner off, but we're lazy, so
yeah, a little bit.
Kind of like this. wasn't on it. Right?
Yeah, it'll just immediately catch. If you have an electric ratchet, it'll immediately catch.
That's the one. Alright, now let's do the other side. Alright, now that side's out the exact same way. It's kind of already kind of ripped out, so I think all I gotta do is just start ripping it. So. The only thing you have to be careful is you have to start unhooking the connectors to the fog light. Hey. So right here is one of them. You'll see it once I take it out.
So there's 2 connectors on each side.
Yeah, there's I think 3. There's one more
well,
on this
there's
side.
2 more on that side, but one drill next to the 2-pin. It's got a red wire and black wire. Both sides have one of those, and then the passenger side has 2 more that have about 10 pins.
Alright, now for the fun part, because this is the shitty part. We gotta remove this crash bar, right?
Yes. You'll have a plug over there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see. This is one of the front sensors.
Get to the bottom, you can pinch
There you go.
on the back side.
Perfect.
That'll do too.
There we go. And that goes to the trash. I'm just kidding. Imagine. Yeah, don't lose these bolts. So now with everything removed, there's more stuff we gotta remove, but this is it. This is the heat exchanger. So this is the part where we're removing and replacing with the Boosted 6.1. So if you ever wonder why your Q50, your VR30 heats so fast, this is all it's got for charger cooling. Yeah. So as you can see, the water pump, this is what pumps the coolant here. So whenever your car gets airlocked, this pump detects air and it shuts off. That's how you get that P14 AC code, and that's why your car doesn't cool down anymore. So for one of the first things we check with every single car that comes into the shop, we check codes on EcuTech, and if we get a P114 AC code, that means someone didn't do this right. That comes out. Yeah, I'm also gonna remove this. You would usually have 2 10 mils right here, but you know, again, this car's clapped. Nice little grommet on it. Don't lose that. For the heat exchanger, that's where it mounts. Move this right here to this top piece right here. So you're gonna have to remove this little plastic piece up top, because that together won't come out. One. And that's gone too. Damn. I just suck at this. Alright. So now it's ready to come out, but I'm gonna pop the hoses and start draining it. I'm scared. It just blows up. Ah! Oh! Alright. Pop this hole. Oh, that's not that bad. It's all in the line. Yeah. Yeah. And there goes that little support bracket thingy. Hope you guys are not watching this for like a DIY step-by-step like instruction video, because this is not that. Oh, look at that. We're good. This. Oh, why did I do this? There you go. Alright, now let's compare. The Boosty 6. So this is the difference between the stock and the aftermarket, heat exchanger. So obviously the huge size difference, and also the end cap. The end caps are not plastic. This is all metal. So yeah. Okay, so obviously the hoses will go in the same spot. that will go there, that will go there. So now the fun part is getting this in there, because this is easy to get out, because this is tiny. That new one's not. So we gotta make some space. So we already removed all the stuff over here. The next thing we gotta do is remove the headlight on the passenger side to get space in there. So fortunately the headlight's pretty simple, just 3 10 mils. We got one down here. You know what? While we're here, let me take this out. This is bothering me. This is like a random ground from the custom headlights. Okay, so that's the one you want to remove. One. Yes. One. And 3. And there is a connector in here we gotta remove. How do I get to that? Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Just click back in. There you go. That comes out. Yeah. And straight to the trash. We might have to remove more stuff, but let's see if we can get it in. The only thing is when you want to push this in, make sure you're not banging up against the condenser, because you can f up the fins over here. So let's see if we have space. If not, we have to remove the top part. These brackets right here. So yeah, we're gonna have to remove the top.
So yeah.
Well, just to pry it out a little bit. So I'm gonna start by removing this right here. And right here.
And the last one is this one in the front right here.
Just the front one?
The one
for the sensor.
Yeah, take that sensor off.
Is this the airbag sensor or whatever it's called?
I thought it was
Should we impact it? Oh, no. Imagine the thing just pops up, blows up.
That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And then just let that one hang.
I think this is the airbag sensor.
Good. Yeah, and then you gotta get that screw out.
And then this one right here.
Yeah. There you go. I just take it in to the side up the top.
Yeah.
Now, these two up top. Fuck. Yeah, you're almost there.
There's more.
You're almost there. And the one that matches on the opposite side.
This one?
Yes. Now, this piece can come off. And it can move up and out of the way at least.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Don't worry about it. Why are you filming this? Don't worry about it.
Ready until I'm crashed.
Go yeet.
No one's gonna know.
No one's gonna know. How would they know? Okay. Hold that back a little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So once you get it around the there,
Yeah.
it is
Now
right
it's
there.
just free flowing. Okay. Perfect.
Now just to get these back in place, just slide them forward. Oh, they're still in place.
Yeah, already.
Then just put these back on.
Okay.
So it'll be held down.
See this? You see this? You learning? You guys learning?
Damage control.
Hey. Shh. Put this piece back in there. The 10 mil there. And people watching is like, this is so unprofessional. I'm not taking my cars to Racebox.
Well, lucky for you, he's not going to be touching your car.
Yeah. Something like that. Do that. Okay. That clicks in. Goes like this, in there. And the bracket goes here. Like that. When you're stock unit, you want to Move this little grommet right here, if I can. Yeah, and then we use that right here on the new one. Push that hole in, so something like that, and then bolt that up. Nice. Put that back in there.
This is shiny.
It doesn't look as OEM, but like so. And I'll go over that with an 8mm after. But let's do this side. Clamp right there. Push that hole in. Yeah. And don't forget the sensor right here, because this will throw a code. Okay, that's good. That's connected. I think we are ready to bleed it. So we're gonna bleed it with the bumper off. So if we do have any issues, or for whatever reason we gotta drain it again, it's all right there. We don't have to, you know, take the bumper back off again. And also, good time to check for leaks. Okay, so usually, if you're doing this by yourself, not in the shop, there's ways to bleed the system without a vacuum bleeder or any compressed air. But you can look up videos on those on YouTube. There's people that have done them. You can follow those. But the way we do it here, we drain it and we vacuum bleed it. So he's actually going to drain, make sure the whole system's drained before we start this whole process. And we have this little vacuum tool right here. We're going to hook up to our compressed air hose somewhere, and then we're going to do that. So I'm going to have him do it because this part I'm not so sure about. So
Okay, I like to get an empty bottle to put the outlet hose on.
Alright, first of all, put that in there.
Yes. Make sure you are connected. Okay.
And then
Here we go. Vacuum. Inception.
go ahead.
Okay, so when you are vacuuming the air out of the system for the coolant, you're going to notice that the vacuum gauge has gone down to negative 23, negative 24. You're never going to really reach negative 30. That's just okay. But negative 20 to 25 is where you want to be on the vacuum. That's good vacuum. But you're going to see it reach negative 20 to 23, 22, something like that pretty quickly. And you're going to think, okay, it's done. But that's not the case. You got to let it really vacuum and pump it out for about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what system you have, and like if it's, you know, if you have extra hoses for anything, you know, going on with the car. The telltale sign that you have done it right is your hoses have sucked all of the air out, and they are just completely compressed, and there's nothing in, there's no air in there. So once you've actually got them to where...
Yeah, this one's an easy one to see.
Yeah, all the hoses have been squished down because it's just sucked all the air out. It's vacuumed all the air out. Then it's time to go ahead and open them up where you can put the coolant in it. And what it does is it makes it to where there's no way that air can get trapped in little bubbles in all the little sections because there's so many hoses. So you want to do it slowly. When you open the line for the coolant, you want to do it so slowly that you can watch it going up and then just let it continue like that, just like that, and just let it continue the same way that you just opened it until it's completely filled. And it's going to take a few minutes, but you should notice that the gauge just slowly starts going. After a couple minutes it'll be down here, and a couple more minutes it'll be down there, and then once it's all the way down, you can close it off and see if it still has any pressure left, and then once it's completely out of pressure, you're good to go.
Nice. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Give it back. Alright, so we fold it up all the way. I'm going to top it off just a little bit. Alright, we got the bumper back on. Everything looks good to go. I'm going to start it up, check codes, and put it back on the dyno. Alright, we're back in the dyno room, car strapped up again. We're gonna do the exact same test. Just checking the weather right now. It did cool down a few degrees, so it's a little cooler. It's at 81 degrees outside. The dyno room temperature is about the same, 86. So, but the second I start this car up and start running it, it's gonna warm up a little bit. So we'll see what happens. I just want to quickly show you guys how fast the recovery is right now. So now I just did the last pull. The coolant temp got to about 126, almost 130. But if I just start driving immediately again, it starts to come down. Yeah, the stock heat exchanger will never do that. Once you're heat soaked on the stock one, that's it. That's you're gonna be just that hot. Now, if I put the brake on and just let it idle, watch how the coolant temp just comes down even further. That's another huge benefit of upgrading the heat exchanger. Once you do get hot, it does come down a lot quicker. So as you can see right now, I still haven't shut the car off. This is all one take. I might do a few cuts just to speed it up, but it's already back down to below 110. If I can focus on it. There you go. So as the coolant comes down, and the second you start moving again, once you get some airflow due to the intercoolers, then the charge air temp will come down again. So if I take the brake off right now and just put it in drive, Alright, so it's the next day. I wanted to do one more run on this car with the car actually cool down and the dyno room cool down, just to show you guys that with the heat exchanger we didn't lose power, because the most we made was 407 on the very first run, and then, well, technically the second run, because we spun on the first run. But I wanted to show you guys that adding this mod doesn't just decrease power magically. So I'm gonna run it again and see what happens. Horsepower, 475 torque, so exactly the same as before, maybe a little better actually. Let me pull it up. First pull from yesterday, low 410 and 461 torque. The pull from today, 411 horsepower and 475 torque. So we made it a little bit more down low, and it actually held out better up top too. But yeah, this car like really needs a custom tune, but using the OTS tune is a very, very nice way to kind of show everything as a benchmark. Alright, so I have all the runs we've done on this car pulled up all together. I know it looks like a mess right now. We're gonna go through them one by one after this. The first 3 runs up here, that's before installing the heat exchanger, and then the 5 runs after are all after the install. So the reason why there's 5 runs after the install is because the very first run, this 403 horsepower and 489 torque run, the car actually spun, as you can see up here. So I didn't count that, but I still ran the car right after anyways, with the same cooldown as I've done every other run. So technically we did 4 runs back to back with the heat exchanger installed. So that's actually way more impressive, because that's another extra run. So the run immediately after that, it went to 406, and then we ended all those runs at 401, and then I did a final run with the car completely cooled down the next morning, and then made 411 horsepower and 475 torque, just to show you guys that the car did not lose power, because our very first run was kind of botched. It would have made around the same 410 horsepower on the very first run if not for that. Just want to show you guys so nobody thinks that installing this part actually is bad for your car for whatever reason. Okay, so here's the first 3 runs with the stock heat exchanger. So the very first run was very strong at 410 horsepower and 461 torque, exactly pretty much what we made before on this dyno. On this run, the charge air temperature started at 108 and it ended at 113. The charge air coolant started at 99 degrees and then ends at 131. And when I'm mentioning the charge air coolant temperature, the peak, the highest temperature I'm talking about is what it reaches even slightly after the pull, as the temperature is still rising. So that's the temperature I'm gonna be mentioning, not just for during the pull, if that makes sense. And then on the second pull, we immediately went to 397 horsepower and 448 torque. So we lost 13 horsepower and 13 torque instantly. So the very first pull is going to feel very strong, and then the second pull already it's going to start to slow down. And on that run, the charge air temperature started at 118 and it ended at 127. And then the charge air coolant started from 122 and went up to 147 degrees. So it's getting pretty warm already. The final pull here went down to 392 and 438 torque. So again, another nice drop in power. And that run we lost 5 horsepower and 10 torque. The charge air coolant and then the charge air temperature started from 127 and ended at 142, which is very hot. And then the coolant started at 136 and ended at 160. So this car at this point is completely heat soaked. If you're on the street middle of summer or even just in 80-degree weather, if you back-to-back pulls multiple gears, you're going to see this kind of heat soaking in 1 or 2 pulls, and that's it. Okay, and after installing the Boost to 6 heat exchanger, the very first pull I have highlighted right here in orange, this one actually spun on the roller. So we're not going to count this run. However, like I said, I still ran the tests right after, just like every other run. So technically we ran this car 4 times with the upgraded heat exchanger. Because that spun, we're gonna ignore the torque numbers because it's gonna be highly inflated. You can see kind of whoop went up there. I'm gonna hide this graph right here, just get rid of that. Let me close out the very last one as well. Okay, so this is the 3 runs, and as you can see, it's way more consistent run after run. There's no huge drops between each graph. So we started the very first run at 406 horsepower and 465 torque, and on that run the charge air temperature started at 102 degrees and went up to 113, and then the coolant temp went from 95 degrees to 127. So already we're seeing an improvement right there. And then the next run, the second run, we actually gained 1 horsepower, or almost 1 horsepower, 407 horsepower and 464 torque. So we actually gained 1 horsepower and lost 1 torque, but I'm gonna call that the exact same, like power and torque. The charge air temperature went from 108 degrees up to 117, and then the coolant went from 104 to 133. So you're already seeing that the charge air temperature is actually all staying within 120 degrees at the very hottest. And then for our final run, we went down to 401 horsepower and 457 torque. And for that run, we started the charge air temperature at 113 and ended at 122. And then the coolant temperature went from 111 to 138. Every run has been above 400 horsepower. This just shows how consistent the car is now with just 1 upgrade, a very important upgrade. So the whole time we're within 6 horsepower of each other. Oh yeah, the car's out here. So we are pretty much almost done with this whole full bolt-on E30 budget build. We only have a few parts left. The next mod I think a lot of you guys are going to be excited about. It's something we've shown before on the channel. We're going to do the intakes for this car, and you guys already know what intakes we're going to go with. After that, we're just left with fueling, I think. Just a flexible kit. I'm not sure if we are going to do a low pressure pump. It is not 100% required, but it's recommended for running E30. But if we're going to keep the budget, we might not even do it and just send it anyways. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully next week we're going to throw the intakes on and have another episode for you guys.
At the